Welcome to another episode of One Door at a Time, Concentric Education's podcast. We're going into the new school year, 23-24. This is now my 24th year in education. I can't believe it's happened so fast. But leading off this year, we have an exciting guest, an exciting show. Known this brother for a long time. He's done so much work in the community, has done so much work in different school districts from all different levels. The resume speaks for itself, but bigger than his resume is his heart, his giving back, his consciousness. I have the great pleasure of welcoming Dr. Shawn Joseph to One Door at a Time. Good morning. This is the earliest we've ever taped. I appreciate the track up, but I just know that what you'll be able to share in our conversation, which just will really resonate with a lot of people. So welcome to One Door at a Time.
Man, it's only a few people that'll get me up at 5 a.m. in my professorial life.
Yes.
But I'll do it for you anytime, brother.
So talk about the journey. So a lot of times we say we're on this journey in education. What was your journey to get to where you are now? From New York all the way through. What was your journey?
Man, that, like Langston Hughes said, life for me ain't been no crystal stair, for sure. Right? I mean, I'm first person in my family to graduate from high school. So that's
really?
that's why, man, when I became a principal, I mean, getting kids out of high school was a big deal to me. Because I saw generations of people not graduating, and I also know the effects of that. So for me, growing up Central Islip, New York, rocking from my hometown CI.
Okay.
Out on Strong Island, and long story, I met the men of Alpha Phi Alpha, a fraternity.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, my best friend Rodney, his mother was a paraeducator in Wyandanch High School, and she grabbed us one day and was like, "Look, get y'all, I'm taking y'all to this church. It's these black men with suits, and y'all need to learn something from them." You know what I'm saying? So we get there, and it was the men of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and they took us on a black college tour.
Oh, well, okay.
And that changed my life. Because again, somebody never graduated, parents didn't graduate from high school, brothers didn't, college, I wasn't even thinking about it.
Okay.
Until I met Dr. Mims, and he took us from Lincoln University down to Tuskegee. So we hit like 10 or 12 schools my junior year of high school. And that changed my trajectory, man. I mean, I knew at that moment that there was something special about black men. We could do great things. And there were these black colleges that cultivated the black mind. So I winded up going to Lincoln University, America's oldest historically black college.
1854, LU. So, what's interesting is, similar to you, I was the first one to kind of graduate. I graduated a different path of high school, but I was not even aware of HBCUs in general.
Right.
But then specifically growing up in Delaware, how close I was to Lincoln.
Yeah.
I mean, right back 896, right up the way. What was it about Lincoln that stuck out to you that you wanted to go there?
Man, I actually wanted to go to Morehouse.
Okay.
I mean, I got early admissions into Morehouse, but
oh, really?
Back in the day, I mean, I remember December 15th, 1992. I got my letter.
Oh, wow, okay.
I was going to Morehouse, but Morehouse had a big bill.
Yes.
And so I was doing my own the own financial aid and all of that type of stuff, and I knew my mom couldn't have it. When she gave me her paperwork and saw she made $22,000 a year.
Damn.
Morehouse at the time was like $16,000. Back in '92. I just put it down.
Okay.
And Lincoln gave me a scholarship.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I went to Lincoln, and they admitted me into the honors program, and I started there on a scholarship, so they covered my tuition and everything. It was a no-brainer for me to go to Lincoln.
So now you're at Lincoln.
Yeah.
Tell me about the experiences at Lincoln that really start shaping you, and then ultimately that led you, if the people, the black men that you were talking about from Alphas, kind of sparked the interest. How did you what was it at Lincoln that shifted you?
Man, I went to Lincoln wanting to become a medical doctor. The only black doctor I ever knew was Cliff Huxtable.
Yep.
Except for the Cosby Show. So I went to Lincoln, man, and I started off as a biology major.
Okay.
In my sophomore year there, I got hired by Upward Bound.
Okay.
And Upward Bound, they bring first generation.
Was Mr. Bailey there?
Mr. Bailey, Herschel Bailey, good Kappa man.
Yes,
Kappa man.
yes. Brother Bailey was back in the day in the '50s when he was on the yard. Was a wild boy. Yeah. Stories I heard about that cat. But yeah.
Yeah. So Mr. Bailey hired me to tutor math that summer. And so they had a bunch of science people, and they asked would somebody shift from math to tutoring English. And I was like, man, this is gonna be the easiest money I ever make.
I remember that my summer when I did it.
So I was on it, but long story short, man, I met a student from South Philadelphia High School.
Okay.
And he struggled reading. And I remember going to Mr. Bailey and saying, Mr. Bailey, I thought so-and-so was playing with me, but he's really struggling with this reading. And Mr. Bailey was like, Shawn, in America, that's not uncommon. A lot of kids struggle, especially black kids, especially kids in Philadelphia. And I remember, man, getting emotional because I thought to myself, like, how do we put people on the moon, but we can't teach a black kid how to read?
Yes.
It jolted my spirit. And I remember, I struggled that summer, trying to help the student get through. And at the end, man, I called my mom and I was like, Mom, you ready for this? I know I said I was going to be a medical doctor, but I think I'm going to teach English.
What?
He was like, boy, you crazy? Teachers don't make no money. I said, no, it ain't about making the money. We're going to make a difference. And I promise you, it's going to work out. And so I wound up graduating from Lincoln in 1996 with a degree in English education. I mean, and since that time, man, I've been an English teacher, a reading specialist, a dean of students, an assistant principal, all in Montgomery County, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C., then went off to be a superintendent in a small rural district, Seaford, Delaware,
Yeah.
Then deputy superintendent in Prince George's County, then superintendent in Nashville. That was my K-12 trajectory for those 24 years. Yeah.
So going back from Mr. Bailey, who are some of the who were some of the influential professors at Lincoln? Because I mean, Lincoln, unless you've been there, unless like you and I, we've experienced it, it's a very unique place.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come in with very little. I'm talking about aspirations, and you could just be there. And it really, I always say there's a spirit there. Despite the fact that people will come and go, there's a spirit at Lincoln that really grabs you and molds you. It's something tangible and kind of forces you, like the people at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, like, without question, Lincoln saved my life. I mean, there's a guy there by the name of Emmanuel Babatunde. Dr. Babatunde.
Scar marks.
Yeah, man.
Mr. Hieber, these are tribal marks.
He used to say, Prince, you must study harder.
Yes.
It's not easy. Do you think you're gonna go out into that world and do it with these bees?
Yes.
I'm like, it's a bee.
Yeah.
He's like, but you can do A work.
Yes.
You can do A work.
Yes.
Take this back.
Babatunde.
Emmanuel Babatunde. He was the head of the honors program there, and he got me into debating.
Yeah, okay.
So he put me on the debate team there.
Was Dr. Thomas there then?
Yes, yes, Dr. Judith Thomas.
Yes.
Was the head of the head of the education department.
Yes.
Then I had Marilyn Button. She was over English.
Yes.
The English department, and she was the first teacher at Lincoln that told me that she thought I was a gifted writer. Like, I'd never heard that before. I was like,
wow.
She was like, if you just learn how to master these commas, you're gonna be a bad boy.
Yes. I remember there, it was Dr. Babatunde, and then because I was a history major, Wachuku, who was an Alpha. English department, it was Dr. Savage.
Yes, Brenda Savage.
Yes,
Brenda
I
Savage.
remember. I thought I was a decent writer.
Yes.
She truly showed me that I was not, and that this is what I needed to do to become. And she actually had a mathematical formula to teach how the different sentences. But her class was at 7 a.m.
Man, I had Dr. Savage for public speaking, and then I also had her for my linguistics 1 and 2 courses. And I tell you, she was one that would not grade a paper again until you give it back to her. You write something, you give it to her, and she'd give it back with feedback. And I'd be like, "Where's the grade?" She's like, "I'm not grading it until I tell you I think it's good."
And that is some of those experiences at Lincoln is where I saw in my teaching career that we can't just, particularly for Black students, we can't just give them a pass or a grade for the sake of giving them a pass or a grade. It's a more obligation on us to help them get it right.
I can tell you at Lincoln, without question, and it's why I'm forever indebted to them, and it's just has a special place in my heart, is because professors saw us. And they knew we came from, they knew we didn't have much. And they didn't, not only did they not judge us, they saw the promise. They saw in us what we didn't see in ourselves, sometimes. And that stuck with me, that if you come to a place disadvantaged and you leave disadvantaged, then an opportunity was missed. And I think those professors at Lincoln were determined not to miss opportunities, that we could take everybody that came to us, those diamonds in the rough, and make them diamonds.
Yes.
And I took that with me into my teaching practice and then into my superintendencies. And now, as a professor at Howard University, I give my students the same thing. I mean, my students will tell you, and I teach doctoral programs. I'm in the doc program with folks who want to go out and be superintendents and other things of that nature. But they know, they turn in the paper to me, I beat it up, give it back, and say, listen, rewrite it. Turn it back in, and I'll give you the same. I'll give you that A you deserve, because I just want you to hit the standard. I don't care when you get it. I just want you to get it.
I remember, the gift that it's that, like Lincoln. To me, it gives you exactly what you need. It meets you, and they meet you where you are, and really gets you where you need to be through a lot of different methods. I remember Dr. Wachuku. So this is probably like my junior year. Had just become Mr. Lincoln player, so I'm not even trying to go to class.
Right.
And at that point, I'm deep in the major. So there's, history. We only have like 6 or 7 majors in there, right? I'm missing a class. The whole class came knocking on my door in the basement of Houston with Dr. Wachuku.
Dr. Wachuku, he's got a little cup.
The cup. The styrofoam white stuff, yes, the cup, Dr. Wachuku with the infamous cup.
Right.
Rest in peace, Doc.
Yeah.
But I remember him knocking on my door and said, and I'm like, yo, who the hell is at my door? And it was the whole class.
Yeah.
And it was like, Dev, get up, Dev. You got class, Dev. And I was like, wow, because he lived on campus.
Yes.
And he was not gonna let us, not succeed. But
I remember he got his PhD from University of Michigan.
Yes.
It's those little things you remember because you knew your professors, they knew you.
Yes.
And so you knew someday, I could get a doctorate.
Yes.
Because Dr. Wachuku told me I was smart enough to do it.
Yes.
And he went to Michigan, which premier institution.
From Lincoln.
Came back and gave back. And so that's the stuff that's just in our DNA, man. When you go to a place like that, they reminded us that, because let's put it out there too. We weren't necessarily ready for a college. Like, they weren't.
Oh yeah, no. They accepted me out of jail.
Yes.
They gave me I got my acceptance letter in jail in Smyrna. I'm like, whoa, damn, like they're accepting convicts.
Yeah.
They were trying to get those numbers.
See, I think it was more than numbers. I think they just believe in the capacity of Black people.
Yes.
And they understood that in this country, many of us not only have been miseducated, we've been under-resourced, and we've been denied access to opportunity. So they took it upon themselves to say, okay, it might take you an extra year or two to get you caught up, but we're gonna accept that challenge.
Yes.
And help you reach the innate, greatness that's within you.
And I tell this story. So I got out of prison August 9th of 1996. I went to freshman week 9 days later.
Yeah.
I went to Lincoln with $50 in my pocket, and I was already on the wait list.
Yeah.
And I remember, and you're gonna know this, brother, I remember Dr. Chris Curry,
yes,
who was director of Residence Life. And he was like, look, you like 30th on the list. We have no room for you. And I said, Dr. Curry, if I don't go, if I don't have a room, they're gonna send me back to jail. And by the time I got back to my friend's house that evening, there was a phone message from him on the answer machine saying, look, we don't have much, but we had this old mail room in Freddie D.
Yeah.
There was a mail room as soon as you went on the left-hand side in Freddie D.
Yes.
And he was like, it's not much, but it's yours.
Yes.
And he was a Q, a beta Q.
Yeah.
Then I had no financial aid.
He wasn't beta, he pledged me Omega.
Okay, all right.
For the Beta brothers.
My bad. There was strong interest.
Yes. But he was integral in bringing Beta back.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
And then because he was head of student life.
He was, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And then I had no financial aid, and William Barber, a Sigma from Lincoln, found money for me. I mean, it was like literally just wrapping their hands around you. So before you graduate Lincoln, if Alpha has kind of got you interested, what made you pledge?
Yeah, man, so I was forever indebted to the men of Alpha Phi Alpha. And when I went to Lincoln, though, in 1990, I got there in 1992, there were no Qs on the yard.
Oh, okay.
There were a couple Alphas, but not many. But in 1993, 18 Qs came back on the campus. And man, it was just electrifying. And for me, the Qs were, everybody had stereotypes, right? Right? Kappas was stereotype was they were pretty boys, and Alphas was smart. But the Qs, man, you had everybody. You had light-skinned bros, dark-skinned bros, tall bros, some bros that were athletes, some were intellectual. And it just felt the natural fit. I mean, I remember going back to my mentor who was an Alpha because they gave us mentors. And his name was Harold, and I went to him and I was like, listen, if you tell me you want me to be an Alpha, I mean, I'll do it, because I'm here because of you all. Yeah. And I remember him saying to me, Shawn, I really don't care what you are. I just want you to be a strong black man. Wow. He was like, you always gonna be my brother. He was like, but he said that when you go on a college campus, the fraternity you join is your home, is your family for life. He said, so connect with who you connect with. Like we're gonna be good. And that's why I never dog another fraternity. You notice I'm intentional about never, even when people banter. Yeah. Because I'm like, listen, we all brothers. We should all be strong. I love everybody. Absolutely. And when you get out of college and you get into other layers and levels, you realize there's so few black men of any fraternity, anything. Yeah. You just want to bond with somebody strong and serious about the business. And when you start peeling back the layers, there's so much commonality across that. I think, if I'm 25 years in, what are you going, 27, 28? Man, I'm so old, I can't even remember. I pledged in 1994. So you coming up on your 30th. Right, we're getting old, bro. Yeah, so, but one of the things, kind of stepping out now, in our 20, almost 30 years later, there's so much potential, untapped potential about us coming together. Yes. Right? I think there's so many things that divide us. Yes. We can't let the colors and the letters, because at the end of the day, all black men are treated equally. They don't look at you in this world and say, oh, you're an Alpha, I'm gonna treat you nicer than you who's a Q. They're gonna beat us all. Yeah. So it's in our best interest to come together and not let the bonds that divide us keep us apart. There's more to keep us together than apart. I think our founders, Brother Love, Jess, Cooper, and Coleman, I mean, they came up at Howard University in a time where, I mean, look, if you were on a college campus back in 1911, you are part of the elite within the black community, hands down, period. But I think they, in that time of racism, and they saw the colorism, the elitist nature that other fraternities and sororities may have had, they were just adamant about, man, this is going to be about friendship, and friendship is essential to the soul. I don't care if you light skinned, I don't care if you dark skinned, you black, we brothers, we got to bond, we got to lock up, unite, and then uplift as we climb, man. Like take that seriously. And as I studied, I mean, it's funny because when I was in Nashville, I actually put my son in the Kappa League mentoring program. Because that's what they had at his high school. Yeah. And I was like, Isaiah, listen, black men, join, check it out. And he came home one day, he was like, Dad, I can't do it. I said, man, what happened? He said, I mean, they cool and all, they doing good stuff, but they got us singing some songs talking about we going to Kappa Land. He was like, you a Q, Uncle John a Q. He said, I ain't going to no damn Capilano.
Yeah.
I said, listen. They good men. And I want you to remember this. I put you in it, and I'm a Q, but I put you in it because I don't care about that. You always gonna be my son. You know, you want to get your hair all trimmed up and tight and stuff. I thought maybe hell you might be a captain at your heart. If you do, I want to let you know it's okay.
Absolutely.
No, he wanted to pledge an Alpha chapter at Howard, you know, but that was his choice. I told them just like I made my decision, I want you to make your own decision as a black man. That don't feel compelled to do something because your daddy did it. It might not be you, and I want you to be your best.
That's powerful, right? Well, one, that you're from Beta, and your son's from the Alpha chapter. Like that's powerful,
that's special,
right?
Yeah.
Like that is, it's very special.
Yeah.
So now you're out of Lincoln. What brings you to where was your first? Montgomery County?
Yeah, Montgomery County. So I became an English teacher at Roberto Clemente Middle School.
Wow.
Which is up in Germantown. and immediately, like I said, I got a degree with English education from Lincoln, but I still couldn't teach kids how to read. And I got into an 8th grade English class, and Montgomery County is one of the richest counties in America. And Roberto Clemente had a mix. I mean, it was, it had over 100 different languages there. I mean, it was a complex school. And I got into that 8th grade English class, and lo and behold, just like the students in Philadelphia, there are a lot of kids who couldn't read there. Like, and I'm like, damn, man, even in this rich, you know, like I walked around, I mean, Germantown, Montgomery County, man, that looked like utopia to me.
Yes.
Like, you know, from where I come from, like just seeing the green grass, these big old houses and things of that nature, and within that, you see black kids, Latinx kids, special education kids, ELL kids who still struggle with reading. So I immediately went to Johns Hopkins. I think that first semester, I jumped in and got a master's in reading, our master's in reading program at Johns Hopkins.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, and ultimately got my master's in reading. Because I said, oh hell, if I'm gonna be a good teacher, if I'm gonna teach you how to read, I need to know how to do it. So I just went and got that just to be a better English teacher.
Okay.
And then.
So what did that lead to?
That led to me immediately becoming the reading specialist at the middle school. My principal, Rosalba Rosas, I didn't even have my certification yet. I was in my 3rd year. She was like, look, I'm gonna put an acting on your name.
Yes.
And then we're gonna figure this thing out. But a black man who can teach reading and who's passionate about it.
You're a unicorn.
Yeah. She put me in there, and I became the reading specialist at the school for a year before getting recruited in Montgomery County to another school, Kingsview Middle School, to be the co-English department chair and team leader.
What did you find from being a teacher and then reading specialist, particularly in middle school? Like, what were some of the challenges? Because it was interesting. I never did elementary. I went straight to high school, and then when I was an administrator at a middle school, it was vastly different. I thought it was one thing in high school, and then when I get to middle school. That changed, particularly from 6th grade to when they came back from the summer in 7th grade and then 8th grade. But I saw some very distinct challenges. And I think that a lot of ed reform has focused on elementary, prepping them, and then high school, if we can get it right. But that lost middle school. Like, what did those middle school years, what did you learn?
I spent my entire teaching career and administrative career in middle schools because I really believe that middle school was the last ground. That's the place. Because when you get in high school, you know, when you get into 9th grade, whatever math class you have in high school is going to determine your trajectory. So if you don't complete algebra by the end of 8th grade, there's no such thing as calculus in 12th.
You're not sick.
You know, so I recognized that early, and middle school is the place in those 3 years. I mean, kids, I think, grow greater intellectually, emotionally, physically, you know, than any other spurt, right? So that's the time where if you're going to experiment, take risks, take chances, give kids opportunity and access, I think middle school is the place, you know, to do that because you have the opportunity to be flexible with your schedules. You know, you can have all kinds of intervention opportunities, opportunities for after school things, and the kids still listen to you. Like they're not cursing you out in middle school. So I think you can get kids on a trajectory there, man. But I think you have to have the right set of interventions and support and care. But a kid, I can look in middle school and tell you what kid's going to graduate from high school or not. And I think that's the place where you really can build and strengthen a kid's self-esteem and concept of self. Like you can empower them and tell them you're a genius, you're gonna be great someday, you're gonna be a rocket scientist in middle school, and they'll believe you. And you just gotta push them to do it. They're not as jaded as you can get.
Exactly. Yes.
By the time you get to a high school, for the kid that gets into high school who's 14, 15, 16 years old and may have had 14, 15, 16 years of people telling them they're not nothing, telling them what they can't do, telling them, once again, this isn't for you. You need to be in this class over here, do this and that and this. It's hard to change that trajectory, but in middle school, I think you've got the opportunity to really do it. And, when I was a superintendent, in the schools in Nashville, I put my money on middle school. We were working to put STEM and STEAM in all of the middle schools and really advance and accelerate there. Because again, I just saw that as a fulcrum point in that K-12 trajectory where you could really make a difference.
So now you've gone a specialist. Now you go into administration. Because there's a lot. Let me quantify that a little bit differently. Many people think they want a superintendency.
Yeah. What
was the biggest difference from what you thought the superintendency would be to being a superintendent?
That's a good question. I clearly was naive when I became a superintendent, and I say that honestly in deep reflection.
Is this more so like Seaford, or the journey from Seaford to back to Prince George's and then Nashville?
I would say both.
Okay.
I would say both, because and the naivety was, I thought people actually wanted to educate kids. I thought people really cared about Black kids, Latinx kids, the poor kids who were coming through, that saw education was the vehicle to take people out of poverty into prosperity. What I found was that in many instances, the K-12 setting can be a jobs program. It could, or it could be a contract program. Right? You got people who, you're in a Metro Nashville public schools. You got $1 billion budget. People don't see that $1 billion budget first and foremost to help the 100,000 kids that are within that piece, that system, to help them move them from one place to the next. They see it as an opportunity to get some people some money that they know, or to raise salaries so teachers or just people can have a better life, which isn't a bad thing at all. But sometimes the kids don't come first.
Yeah, no.
The kids don't always come first, and I was naive to the politics of education for sure. I just thought, you come in, you focus on the kids, help them read, help. I came in with that same mentality that I had as a teacher, that I want to help kids read, and I want to do whatever it takes. I'll move whatever resource I need to move. I'll restructure whatever I need to structure to change the conditions to make that happen. But there's power in the status quo, and there are people who benefit from the status quo. And when you come in and you move faster than the culture, you'll always fail. And that was a mistake for me. I came in and didn't recognize in the Deep South, they ain't used to seeing Black men with power who just don't ask questions and just move things like that, and
actually give a damn.
That's not okay.
Yeah, it's not okay.
That's not okay, because there are rings that need to be kissed. There's permission that you need to get first.
Yes.
Before you start doing things, and that's called politics. You got to understand the system in place before you come in and try to change a system.
Yes.
And I came in trying to change a system, not asking questions. And when you start changing things and changing people's money and changing who has power and how that power is distributed,
it pushes back.
People want to assassinate you. Get out of here.
Yes.
Because Carter G. Woodson said it best in the the miseducation of the Negro. You know, he talked about the most dangerous person in the world isn't the conservative, the white conservative, it's the white liberal, because you think they want to do the right thing, but they put you in a position of power, expecting you to maintain that status quo that's kept them in privilege. At least the conservative or the racist, he comes up front and you know that.
And you know what's interesting is what I've experienced from being in a system and then outside of a system. Very, very similar, is that the minute that you push against the system will try to crush you. Right? And then either the people inside will either get pushed out if they really give a damn, or they will be completely assimilated and their spirit will be crushed.
Yeah, we live in an America that rewards assimilist behavior.
Yes.
You know, we don't want you to go outside of the status quo. But here's my thing, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a pragmatist, and I'm a realist. And what I know is, we live in an America where there are haves and have-nots. There are people who own stuff, there are people who control stuff, and then there are workers. If we truly educate Black people in this country to not work for people, but to own stuff, we would be a threat to this actual economy.
Yes.
Because who's going to serve then? If you're not doing it, who's going to do it? You know, so there's a force that needs a certain miseducation.
Yes.
In the system, for the system to function. Because if I can't pay you a little bit of money and make a lot off of your services, then that, you know, then if I can't do that, then that's how the system works. Right? Like for me to be able to pay you a minimum wage, and for me to charge a premium to somebody for the money I'm giving you on a minimum wage.
And for me to make the most amount of profit as possible.
Yes.
No, I've seen some very insidious activities, like being in different rooms now. And it's interesting is that as Concentric has kind of grown, and like this is like a 15-year journey, when we were just doing home visits, we were fine because no one wants to really do home visits, right? Not in masses in the different communities. Even when we started doing mentoring, it was one thing. It was like, okay, well, we'll let you stay in that lane. But when we start doing tutoring, right, where we used our ability to connect with students, get them to come stay in school, build their self-esteem, but now start actually teaching them, we start disrupting the end goal.
Well, because now you're moving from chitlins to now you want actually a piece of the hog.
Yes, and the system pushes back. Like, what the hell do you think you're doing?
Exactly.
Right, and a lot of stuff. There's not many across and you know better than I don't know many large Black tutoring companies. Right, we're kind of like little piecemeal.
Yeah.
And even in districts where we have Black partners or Black vendors, we're pitted against each other.
Yeah.
For very little pieces of the pie.
Yes.
Right? Like if we get a contract for $250,000, and this is from the system and then from the people in the system, you get a contract for like $250,000, which is really not much money. And when you talk about scalability, then there's a problem. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, you should be happy because we gave you a contract for $250,000. Yeah. And the misnomer is they think they're giving that contract to an individual.
Yes.
Whether they're giving it to Shawn or they're giving it, no, you're giving it to a company that provides a robust service.
Right.
But if you do predominantly white companies, their bills 10 times, you know, where their contract is like 10 times. Well, I mean, so it's interesting.
So the lessons that I've learned in all of this is one, as Black people, as people of color, as people who have been historically minoritized in this country, we just must focus on excellence.
Yes.
I mean, it's not, we stop comparing us against, forget about this achievement gap crap, right? Because don't compare me to a white person or compare me to an Asian person and say that there's a gap. As my colleague Ivory Tolson at Howard talks about, we've got
alpha,
focus
right?
on, he's an alpha.
Yeah.
Good brother too, good brother. talks about we've got to focus on absolute achievement. Like we've got to start comparing ourselves to an end goal, irrespective of other people's goals and things of that nature. Like we just got to lock in on excellence.
I forgot Ivory was at. How was building a squad?
We got a little something over there.
Yo, how was building? So now you're most with what you're doing with Howard. Talk about some of the other the things that your biggest projects that you're in now, other than the Supes Academy at Howard.
Yeah, so we're excited at Howard because now we have 3 different academies. We've had the Urban Superintendents Academy for the past 9 years, which seeks to prepare people who want to go into our large urban cores in America. But the reality is most people don't get their start in a Washington, D.C., in a Philadelphia, in a New York, in a Chicago. Most people will start in a Seaford school district, like I did, with 6 schools, almost 3,000 students. So this year we're starting a new academy, just a superintendent's academy for people who are interested in moving into the superintendency, but not in one of these mega districts, in a small, mid-sized, rural, suburban, or small urban district. And we're going to do that with the Institute for Educational Innovation, IEI. And then we'll also have an aspiring leaders program. And what's important about that is, a lot of principals are in the district and they don't know how to move forward, what the next steps are. If you don't have mentorship here, it's hard to move. And sometimes you got to go to grow. And people don't have a network to move from one district to another often. So we're hoping to bridge the gap and build the capacity there. And we're very explicit. I mean, what makes the Howard programs different and why I love it is I'm adamant against being an elitist. I'm not looking to say, we want the we only want candidates from certain districts and you got to have a certain pedigree and we got to rigorously interview you and get you in, because the reality is you have the job as the director of student services right now. You might not know nothing. You might have got it because your uncle knew the superintendent and they giving you a shot, like happens in many places. However you got it, the fact is God has placed you in this moment and now you need support and help.
Absolutely.
And so our approach is if you're there, if you're in the position, then we'll embrace you and give you what you need. Now the education you get, that's non-negotiable. We're going to tell you what you need to know and how to navigate with no chaser.
It's amazing, man. Like the journey that you from your childhood to what Lincoln taught you, how it's really you've carried it with you. Like your core philosophy, and I've said this. Like you are not just an exemplary educator, but exemplary human being. Like as the young folks would say, no cap. Like no bullshit. Like you are so genuine, and you don't run across that in the world, but you don't run it in general. But in education, that you are generally just trying to build people up and help us. So if you had to give a piece of advice for aspiring or a sitting superintendent, what is one key piece of advice that you would give them?
Man, I mean, without question, never forget where you've come from, and always see people, and people will feel your heart. They'll hear what you say, but they'll feel your heart. And I think if you can stay centered in your authentic self, you've got, if nothing else, people will receive you. You'll have the ability you'll create the conditions for people to follow you. I mean, like for me, my mother was a building services worker, so I'm the son of a building services worker who never made more than $25,000 a year, right? In her life. So for me, I've just always had an affinity towards people, and I know that there can be beauty. I know that there can be care and love with limited resource. You know what I'm saying? And I know people have hopes and dreams for themselves, for their families. And so I always, when I see people and I engage with people, I always come from that perspective. I'm curious about them. Like, I want to know about you. I want to know your experiences. I want to know, just as much as possible because I've overcome a lot of brokenness.
Wow.
Right, being my mom, my mother and father separated when I was 3 or 4 years old. And it was pretty traumatic how it went down.
Okay.
I grew up in the 80s.
Yep.
And the 80s, I mean, the drug game, particularly in New York, I mean, just devastated generations of black men.
Yes.
In particularly that crack cocaine moment.
Yeah.
That happened in the 80s, early 90s.
The New Jack City moment.
Yeah. Man, we grew up right in that, man. So in the midst of all of that brokenness, in the midst of all of that despair, I saw good people making bad decisions because of circumstance.
Okay.
And so it just taught me to be non-judgmental.
Wow.
If nothing else. I see somebody, I understand the circumstance, I don't make any judgment about it. Because I know in the right conditions, things can change.
Absolutely.
I became, a lover of Richard Wright in Native Son. That whole question, the main character in the book Native Son was a gentleman by the name of Bigger Thomas.
Bigger Thomas.
And Bigger Thomas did some bad things. But the question becomes, who made Bigger Thomas? Did he innately grow up? Was he born evil? Destructive, or did the environment make him destructive? And so that question is something that I've always grappled with. But at the end of the day, what I understand are the Bigger Thomases in the world are still people. They still got hopes, dreams, desires, and we can capture them. We can inspire them. We can push them to reach their ultimate destiny. We all have a road that we walk, and then you can make a left, and you can make a right. And I think coming across, God's people, man, can keep you on the right track and on the right road. And I've been blessed to have some amazing mentors and people who've kept me on the track.
Yes.
And so if I've achieved any success or any accomplishments, it's on the backs of the ancestors, people who have brought me here, and I just I never forget that. So so most people, when they see me, I just say, hey, I'm Shawn.
Yes.
I don't get into all this because I know that title can divide.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like you do the same thing.
At the end of the day, we know where we've come from, and our responsibility giving back. I know early in the morning you took that track. Thank you so much. I know all the stuff that you've been giving back and will continue to give back. We have Dr. Shawn Joseph joining One Door at a Time. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Whether it be Dr. Shawn Joseph, whether it be Shawn, aka Prince, that's a whole different topic for another episode.
Right.
Continue to do what you're doing, good brother. I look forward to the partnership, the brotherhood, which is so genuine. And it's just great reciprocity. And I just want to thank you. Shout out to Lincoln University for making two strong men trying to give back. Appreciate you, good brother.
Appreciate you for this, sir.
As always, you can catch us on concentric.world, all of our platforms. I want to give a special shout out to our sponsorship, Atlas Restaurant Group. Catch them at any 28 local locations all across the greater Baltimore region, and they're actually opening up another place in Philadelphia, Houston, and Miami, and in DC. As always, thank you, Atlas, for supporting us. See you next episode.